Welcome to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. I'm your host, Sadia, and this is my mother, Ema. Hey, Ema.
Hello, my sweetness.
Hey, so I'm
How's my baby boy? How's my little
doing
love?
great. I'm
Good,
doing
good,
great. We
good.
actually, like, last week's episode was really good. And I'm
Baruch
trying
Hashem.
to see if I can top that, but I don't think we can. I think we're gonna have to stick with like the basics of what we know and stick with the tried and true, I guess, formula that people are gonna hate. Um,
We will prevail. Don't you worry, my sweetness.
yeah.
We will see
So
this thing through together. Maybe that's the problem. I don't know.
whatever, it's fine. It's a crapshoot. We wanted to talk about it. Yes, last week we talked about wanting to get into um, the Kugel ladies, about how like when usually with the way it works, and we mentioned in a previous podcast. I'm not sure if anyone else knows, but it's when somebody like a husband loses a wife, and then some other women bring kugels to the shiva house, and then go ahead and ask them like if they do a slow. It's a slow play of like hitting on the guy who just lost his wife to like swoop in and like
um, uh-huh.
yeah it
Well, your father talked about that with particular mention of his parents had a condo in Ocean City.
mhm.
And so, in this condo, there were quite a few senior citizens, and unfortunately, the wives passed away, and so you had women there who were widows and lonely, and so we're talking about like I think the last generation. So they would make a kugel and bring the kugel to the grieving widower, say, "Oh, we're so sorry you lost your wife. Here's a kugel." I think though, I think my generation doesn't do kugels anymore. Too much fat and cholesterol. I think we're more like salads, soups. You know
I
what I
mean
mean?
it's
Healthy stuff. Here's a nice salad I made for you. So sorry you
yeah.
lost your wife.
Well, it's like
Yeah.
it's funny because it's like there's no kugel men. You know what I mean? I don't think. I mean, is that a possibility?
I haven't come across any.
Yeah, it's always the women. Well, I think it's because it's also something that's like I think it's sweet. Some people might find it morbid, but I think it's sweet. You know, but yeah, it's something that I feel it's a sweet, nice thing that happens, but it's just also it's part of life. It's kind of how it works, you know.
Mhm. I
But
can't get over it though. Like after your father, would you believe after your father passed away, there I had some well-meaning friends that called me like 3 weeks afterwards and said, "Hey, would you like to meet somebody? I just thought there's somebody in your area that's looking to meet a woman in your age bracket." And I just went, I said, "I don't believe this. No, no."
yeah, I
You know,
think there has to be like some kind of moment where it's like you need some time to grieve. Um,
or enjoy your independence, however you look at it.
yeah, yeah. I think I don't know. It just depends on how you perceive what you think a relationship is, and you think if it's very restraining and very exhausting, then yeah, sure, go right ahead. Take your pick and just enjoy your time off.
Well, my philosophy is that if you really want companionship, get a dog.
Oh, okay. I could see that. I could see that. Um, moving on. We also wanted to discuss childhood medical memories.
Oh yes, and I got plenty of them, man.
Well, I was gonna start it off if that was okay. I was
Okay,
gonna
go
talk about
ahead.
my tooth.
Oh, okay, you can go first. You can talk about your two.
Yeah, what happened was me and my little brother Yosef, we were play fighting, we were wrestling like WWF wrestlers back in the day on Ima and Tati's bed, and I kept on beating Yosef. So Yosef was like, "It's not fair." So we asked for a free shot. So he grabbed me by my legs. I lost balance. My head hit the wall, and it chipped my tooth and broke it in half. And I had to go ahead and get it fixed, but I had to wait till I was 18 before I got a crown. And then I was teaching Shnerna Sarah how to defend herself, and I like I grabbed her from behind and was teaching her how to. You do this stomp on the foot, where you lean to the side and you like try to punch the person, and she like freaked out and knocked her head back into my mouth, and it cracked my tooth again. So I had to get that whole thing removed. But yeah, I mean that's just part of life. You break some bones, you lose some teeth.
Yeah, but you get Baruch Hashem in this day and age, they have implants. I think you're getting your implants soon, right?
Yeah, I am.
Mhm. I don't know what it is. Everybody has that one tooth or something that for some reason they're always bumping, that they knocked out of their mouth or that didn't grow in properly. At least everybody has at least that one tooth that always, gave them problems. But, when I'm thinking about my medical memories, I'm thinking in terms of, like my experience was I had 3 eye operations as a child. This is in the early 50s. And the first anesthesia, the most popular anesthesia that they used before, I guess, the mid 1950s, late 1950s was ether. I think I was the only 5-year-old or 4-year-old that knew what ether was, because that was the anesthesia. And that ether, let me tell you, you could smell it a mile away. It was horrible. The side effects were terrible, which is why Baruch Hashem, what they have now is the gas that they have now is much better. It's more benign. You really don't smell it that much. But that ether, my mother said, well, my older sister also had an eye operation when she was an infant. And this was, of course, before my eye operation. And my mother said that when they brought my sister out of the operating room, that she stank from ether. You could just smell it. And not only one of the side effects, one of the horrible side effects of the anesthesia in those days was a lot of vomiting after you woke up. So the eye operation I remembered the most, of course, was my last one, because I believe I was 6 years old when that happened. And my eye doctor, an amazing woman, her name was Dr. Marion Small. She was one of the main doctors at the Wilmar Institute at Hopkins. And I had very bad eyes that really, that needed a lot of eye therapy, a lot of surgery. And thank God she was a really gift min hashamayim, and one of those amazing doctors that was, my parents really had to shop around till they were lucky enough to find her. So I remember the hospital where they brought me was called Baltimore Eye, Ear, Nose, and Throat Hospital. I mean, now it's a nice, if it's still around, I understand they remodeled the whole thing. It's a nice, beautiful, modern facility. But when I was being operated on, it was the original building that I think had been put up during, I think, the 1920s or early 1900s. And let me tell you, this building looked like Dracula's castle.
Oh, wow.
So this particular eye doctor of mine always, for some reason, most of my operations were on Decoration Day. We call it Memorial Day now, but in those days it was called Decoration Day. Yeah. So when I was a little kid, I thought Decoration Day was called Decoration Day because I was going to be decorated with bandages all over my head.
Oh, that's cute.
That's why I thought it was called Decoration Day. So anyway, so my mother brings me, of course, to the hospital. And you know something? And they weren't, when it came to child psychology, when it came to the Depression, World War II generation, we discussed this before. Remember where their whole aim in life, quiet. Oh, their whole aim in life was survival. Forget psychology, man. They were just worried about being able to survive. So here my mother is bringing me up to this building that looks like Dracula's castle. And when it came time for the operation, not put the kid to sleep, in the same room with the parents. No, whoever it was, this hospital attendant comes over, grabs me out of my mother's arms, and I am picked up and almost dragged, kicking and screaming. Then they brought me to the operating room and they put me, of course, on the table. And here I'm seeing these monsters around me that are all in their surgical garb and masks. And Dr. Small comes over to me and says, hello. And I look at her, I go, who are you? She says, you know me, I'm Dr. Small. And I said, no, you're not. You're a monster. And she's, yeah, like I was supposed to say, you know,
Because you were a child. You didn't know what was going on. You were confused and scared.
Not only that, I was into horror movies at the time, you know,
Ooh,
the horror movies from the 1930s and 40s where they had the mad scientist.
Wait, so I have a question then.
Yeah.
So like, what did you believe in as a kid that as an adult you realized is completely unrealistic?
That people are good. I'm just joking. Good. That's a really good question. What did I think of as a child? There were, listen, there are, you know, like I said, there are, how can I say it? Criminality is an equal opportunity employer. And your father had a saying, in business, you trust your mother, but you cut the cards. And look before you leap.
So what did you believe in as a child? You're saying you were more naive?
Oh, all children are. You see advertisements on television, of course, and you think that's the way it's supposed to. You think these toys are really something amazing, or you see something advertised and you get it, and it doesn't turn out to be what you thought. In fact, adults make that mistake. We go on the internet, and we see these advertisements for all these products on the internet, and they look pretty good, and we buy them. And you know something? Sometimes we luck out, and it does turn out to be a superior product. Other times we don't. And it's like, you know, it's like hit and miss. So quite honestly, there are two things I bought on the internet that I have buyer's regret about.
Buyer's remorse, yeah.
Buyer's remorse, that we're not what I thought. But anyway, let me get back to my story. So anyway, so to get me under the anesthesia, she tries to play a game with me, and she says to me, we're going to play a game called Hoopsie Doo. I want you to close your eyes and count to 10 and say Hoopsie Doo. Like that's supposed to win me over. And I just sat up there with my arms folded and went, no. Mm-hmm. So I don't know who it was, some guy, I don't know if he was a nurse, if he was I don't know what capacity he worked in, but he comes over to me and says, okay, that's enough. Grabs me, almost shoves me down on the table, grabs the mask, the anesthesia mask, and just punch it right over my face, like boom.
God.
I was about to tell you something also interesting. Remember I told you about how the anesthesia in those days, that one of the side effects was horrible nausea. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that helped was drinking a lot of Coca-Cola. So when we were pulling up to the hospital, the Coca-Cola truck was right in front of us, and they were bringing in all these cases of Coca-Cola. And my mother says to me, you see that? All that Coca-Cola is just for you.
Oh, that's adorable. That's adorable.
But I want to contrast it though, to a few of your siblings who also had to have operations.
Oh, yeah.
And how much better the doctors and nurses, anesthesiologists handle kids today. So much better. First of all, the anesthesia is not as horrible as it was when I was a kid. It's much more benign. Also, when Mushka had her operation, they let me put on a surgical mask and gown, and they let me actually walk her into the operating area. Mm-hmm. And I sat down they had me sit on a chair and hold her, and they took the mask and they took chapstick and they smeared the mask with strawberry flavored chapstick, so that she would smell strawberries instead of smelling the anesthesia. And the nurse gave her the mask, and she told her to put it against her mouth, and then she pointed to that ball that inflates with the anesthesia. The ball goes in and out, so you can breathe in the anesthesia. So she says to Mushka, can you blow up that balloon, pointing to the ball? So Mushka takes a deep breath of the anesthesia, and the ball goes out, and the nurse goes, wow, that's good, do that again. And Mushka does it again and again and again until finally she's totally asleep. which yeah, I thought that was the most excellent way I've ever seen, a nurse or an anesthesiologist of handling a young child. Then when Menachem had his operation, I was hoping they would do something similar, but the anesthesiologist told me they were sorry that I couldn't be in the sterile area with him, but she would do everything she could to make him comfortable. So what she did was first, I was in the room before the operating room with him, and he was on a gurney, and they gave him a liquid sedative to drink so that made him drowsy. Then the anesthesiologist came over to him with a little toy choo-choo train, and she turned him over so that he couldn't see me. He was facing forward and holding the choo-choo train. And she says, "Come on, we're gonna ride the train. Here comes the choo-choo train." And she was going choo-choo, choo-choo, here comes the choo-choo train. And she had me walk next to him so that by the time we got to the sterile area where I couldn't go, he was so happy, going with the choo-choo train that he didn't notice that I wasn't able to come in with them. And by that time, the sedative, pretty much took over so that he didn't know it by that point, what was happening.
Yeah, it's amazing how like with the advancements of not just technology but psychology and how to handle people's feelings. Which brings me to another question. What would be your number one parenting advice to anybody? Like your number one.
If your child's having some sort of medical procedure or whatever.
In general rule, but like I guess so, yeah.
You have to talk to your kid. You really do. You have to talk to your kid. Not that you should be permissive. Don't get me wrong. But I think I said this, like in another one of our podcasts, that the kind of relationship you make with your child is going to determine a lot. There's nothing wrong with setting boundaries, but the child's got to know, you have to have a good relationship with your child, and so that he or she knows that these boundaries are being set for their safety and their well-being.
So,
and any rule that you have, it should never get into a power play with your kid. No one's going to win. No one's going to win any type of power play. Any boundaries that you set for your child, any rules you make for your child, have got to be for their safety and well-being, and have to make a lot of sense. You can't be setting these rules just to be in a power play with. I think, remember we discussed curfews?
Yeah, we did. We had that whole conversation.
Yeah. And I said, the purpose of a curfew is to keep your child safe, not to lord it over him that I'm the big parent and you've got to obey me. No, the purpose of a curfew is so your child will be safe. And that's something your child, has to real. In fact, you can tell your child yourself, that you yourself wouldn't be out past like 1:30 in the morning if you could help it.
Like nothing good comes after 2:00 p.m.
Right. But in general, talk to your child if they have concerns. If your child is frightened about something, discuss those fears. Like if he or she is having a medical procedure, or I saw this woman at the pediatrician's office one time, and I couldn't believe this woman. I think what she did was horrible. The kid was scared. He was getting a needle. And instead of discussing the situation with him, and saying, yes, needles can be frightening. I don't like needles. Believe me, I hate needles. Ugh, I'm not so crazy about them myself. But if you explain to the child that, true, yes, it does hurt, but it only hurts for a second. And it's much better than getting the disease. And you can relate your experiences too, to your child getting a needle. And you might, want to put the child on your lap. You might want to stroke their back. Do something for them that relaxes them. Say, would you like me to stroke your back, stroke your arms, stroke your back, sing, do whatever the child asks you to do to make him feel relaxed. This kid was crying. He didn't want the shot. She goes, "Oh, just shut up and get in there. Quiet. I don't want to hear it." And I'm like, gosh, I couldn't believe that parent.
Wow. But
when I was a kid, I had something similar when it came to needles. I told you why needles hurt when I was a kid.
Because you reuse them.
Right. Uh-huh.
That was crazy. No.
Now, Baruch Hashem, needles are much better because they're all disposable and they're very, very sharp and you don't feel them as much. But my day, you felt it, let me tell you. And I would tell my parents, "Oh, it hurts." "No, it doesn't. It's you." "It doesn't hurt. You're the problem."
So I guess when it came to your parents, what was the worst thing that they lied to you about?
Good question. What thing did they lie to me?
I mean, as a kid, parents lie to kids, but like, like, "Oh, don't worry, the ice cream truck only plays music when it's out of ice cream."
Oh, they had to. I don't blame them for lying to me about this. What happened was this: when I had my eye operation, the doctor told them it was very, very important that I not cry because it could really ruin, the job that she did. So they had to really be careful to keep me very happy. And so when I got home, I said I got upset that I couldn't watch TV. I was all bandaged up. My eyes were all bandaged up, and I wanted to watch TV. And my sister and my mother said, "Oh, don't worry. The TV's broken anyway. You can't see anything. It's just sound."
Oh, that's adorable.
So I said, "Okay." So I believe that.
That is adorable.
But that was nice of them to do that. You know what I mean?
That's really
to tell
sweet.
me, yes, I wouldn't be upset.
Yeah. So when you were a kid, then what was like the worst candy, like worst type of candy or flavored candy?
Oh, candies. Oh, when you said candy, I didn't think of candy. You know what I thought of?
What?
When I was a kid, I had I told you I had this horrible coughing problem that the doctors just couldn't diagnose. They weren't sure what it was. I was constantly coughing. And winter times were horrible. Winter times I was coughing like a chimney. And in fact, recently, a few weeks ago, you know what happened? I mean, when I went up to Baltimore, New Jersey, I got the cough again. I was constantly coughing up there. So my father had these horrible, horrible cough drops.
What was the flavor?
Trying to think what the name was. I don't know what they were. They were supposed to be real good, but they tasted horrible. He made me take one. He made me suck on one. It was horrible.
What was the flavor?
It was an adult. There was no flavor. It was an adult cough drop that tasted like your mouth was on fire. And I was a little kid, and the things there was another thing that he forced me to do too. My nose was constantly stuffed up. So he had these cough drops called Neosnephrine. I found out later, by the way, Neosnephrine is very good when you first take it. But the problem, and the doctor explained to me with Neosnephrine, is that it works for about 8 hours. But after it stops working, your congestion comes back with a vengeance. That's why my doctors, when I became an adult, told me recommended other types of nose drops rather than this Neosnephrine. Neosnephrine, I think, is still on the market, but my doctor wasn't so crazy about it for that reason. So anyway, my father wanted to put Neosnephrine up my nose. Neosnephrine, by the way, is very bitter, and of course, I didn't want to let him do it. He got me down on the floor, and he got on top of me, and he shoved that nose dropper up my nose.
Oh, wow.
Oh my God. I think about, and another thing that they were into years ago, you wouldn't believe this one.
Yeah.
Years ago for kids, when I was a kid, they were the parents were very much into enemas.
Oh, shit. I mean, shoot.
Yes. Don't ask what that felt like when I got pushed up against the wall and an enema was administered to me by my parents, quote unquote, for my own good. But oh God, I mean,
hey,
I would never do that to I learned. I never did that to any of you kids.
By the way, I'm looking up old 1950s cough drops, and I keep on seeing a flavor called black cough drops. Like that's all it's called. It's called black cough drops.
Well, I don't know. These cough drops were small. They were little small green discs.
Probably Vicks medicated cough drops.
I don't think so. No, it was something else. It wasn't Vicks. Had to be something else.
Okay.
I hope they took it off the market because it tasted like poison to me. They were small green discs.
I don't know.
I don't know what they were
don't know.
called, but anyway.
All right. Well, that's it. That's our time. I have another, I guess, a teaser, but I'm curious to see what you know. Like, what was the biggest scandal in your high school?
Good. Oh wow, that's a good question. Big
All right,
scandal.
great. We'll talk about it next week. Fantastic. All right. I love you, man. Have a good Shabbos.
That'd be a good topic for next time.
For next time.
I love you, honey. Have a
Kinda
great
tease.
Shabbos.
All right. Good Shabbos. Thank you for listening to Jewish Boy Calls His Mother. Please like and share and find us on Facebook at Jewish Boy Calls His Mother Podcast. We are looking forward to hearing from you.